Hey everybody, Darren Cross here. Welcome to week 5, Business 149, Business Math. We are over the hump. We are past the midpoint of this class. Okay, so in week 5, we're actually going to talk about 3 chapters. We're going to go over 3 chapters. They are chapters 11, 12, and 13. So we're going to continue on. We started talking about simple interest, and that stuff is going to come into play as we move forward. We're going to see how that interest formula kind of impacts everyday things for our lives, and then we're going to see how compounding interest actually works, which is a different kind of a concept, right? So in chapter 11, we're going to talk about promissory notes. So we're going to talk about how promissory notes work and the discounting process. It sounds like crazy language, but it's just basically how things like T-notes work, right? So when you purchase them, you're buying them at a discount, and then some point in the future, they're actually at their fully mature rate. And so we're going to figure out how to do and calculate all of that stuff, right? So specifically, we're going to differentiate between interest-bearing and non-interest-bearing notes. We're going to calculate bank discount and proceeds from simple discount notes. We're going to calculate and compare interest, maturity value, proceeds, and effective rate of a simple interest note with a simple interest discount note. I know this stuff is just like rolling around in your head, but when you go through the actual videos, I think it'll make sense. We're going to explain and calculate the effective rate for a treasury bill, right? So effective rate, we have our nominal rate all the time. We'll see this in the future too. We have our nominal rate, which is the named rate, the stated rate. And then we have effectively what the rate actually is after we get done doing all of the math, right? Sometimes it works in our favor, sometimes it doesn't, okay? We're going to learn how to discount interest-bearing notes before maturity, right? So we're going to calculate the maturity value, bank discount, and proceeds of discounting an interest-bearing note before maturity. And we're going to identify and complete the 4 steps of the discounting process. Now, this sounds really, a bunch of words coming at you, but I promise you, as you go through the chapter and you go through the videos, I promise you they're going to make sense, okay? In chapter 12 is where we start to talk about compound interest. So compound, we're talking about simple interest, which is just principal times rate times time. Now we're talking about what happens when we add in the compounding feature. And compounding means that we're taking interest on not only that principal, but also interest that we've earned. So after you've earned interest in a compounding period, we're now going to reinvest that and then earn more interest on the original principal and the principal plus the interest that we've already earned. And compounding is what we're really after, right? We want to compound as often as possible. So in chapter 12, we're talking about compound interest. We're going to be looking at the time value of money. Very, very relevant. I promise you this is in your life, or it will be. We're going to look at the future value of money and the present value of money. So this is where we're saying, okay, so I need money in the future, and I know I can get this certain rate for a certain amount of time. How much money do I need now? What's the present value? Or if I have this amount of money that I invest now, and I know that I can get this specific rate compounded this often for this amount of time, what's it going to be in the future? So if I have $5,000, how much will it be in 5 years if I get 12% a year compounded quarterly, right? So this is very, very relevant. This is how you figure out how to actually set up your life and how to know how to get the money that you need to do things that you want to do in the future. Okay, so we're going to compare simple interest with compound interest. So you're going to see the difference. You're going to see how compound interest is actually way more powerful than simple interest. You're going to calculate compound amount and interest manually by table lookup. So you're going to figure out how to do it manually. So year 1, what's my interest? Add that back in. Year 2, what's my interest? Add that back in. Nobody does it like that, right? If it's 1 or 2 years, maybe, but most people use the table lookup. So you're going to also learn how to do future value by table lookup. You're going to explain and compute what effective rate is with this as well. Because what's happening is, because it's compounding, you may be getting 8% a year, but because you're compounding weekly or quarterly, you're actually getting more than 8% a year. So effectively, your rate is more than that. Okay, so, and when we're looking at present value, we're going to compare compound interest with future value. Wait a minute, compare compound interest future value with present value, right? So you're going to look at what future value is as compared to the present value. We're going to compute present value by table lookup, and then you're going to check the present value answer by compounding. Now, chapter 13 is kind of the same concept. It's also looking at future and present value, but it's looking at the future and present value of annuities, right? An annuity, when you hear the word annuity, I want you to take that out of your head and say stream of payments. So if someone says, like I'm looking here, differentiate between contingent annuities and annuity certain. So a contingent stream of payments and a stream of payments certain, right? Whenever you hear annuity, you can substitute it with the words stream of payment. That'll help you as you figure out what's really going on here, right? So specifically, and we're going to look at sinking funds as well. So we're going to differentiate between contingent annuities and annuity certain. That's going to, the difference between the two basically is going to be on like when you calculate the interest at the ending or the beginning of the term. Calculate future value of an ordinary annuity and an ordinary annuity due manually. You're going to do that manually for a couple of periods, as well as using the table lookup, which is what most people do. Then you're going to look at the present value of an ordinary annuity. So what we're saying here is, how much money do I have to, for how long do I put payments into this system in order to have what I want in the future? Or if I have this stream of payments in the future, then how much is that worth today? What's the present value of that today? We see this all the time. J.G. Whitworth, it's my money and I want it now. So you have a stream of payments in the future. You have an annuity in the future. What is the present value of that? This is how it comes into play, right? So let's say you have a settlement and you're getting $50,000 a year for the next 20 years, or you're getting, $4,000 a month for the next 20 years. Well, J.G. Whitworth comes in and says, we will give you the present value of that based upon whatever their thing is. So their deal is, I will give you the present value because giving you that, buying that, this annuity from you, I'm going to make money, right? So if I can invest this annuity at 8% for 20 years, I'm going to make more money than I would get if you than you would get. I think I messed that up. I would get more money if I invested the amount. I would get more money by buying your annuity from you than what I would get if I invested this amount at this rate, right? So basically they're investing by buying your annuity, and then they get an amount that's higher than what they could get normally. And your view is, well, hey, I just want this money. I want my money up front instead of in the future. But, if you're going to get like $1 million in the future and they offer you $300,000, in your brain, you're thinking, no, you're screwing me because this is $1 million annuity. Well, no, not really, because you can invest that $300,000 and get that income in the future as well, right? So that's all up to you. So we're going to calculate, we're going to compare the calculation of present value from one lump sum versus the present value of an ordinary annuity. So you're going to look at what happens if, you are retiring and you get a lump sum of money and you actually want to turn that into an annuity versus another annuity that you get. Which one would be better? So it's all a big word problem and a puzzle that you'll have to just work through and slow down and work through. With sinking funds, you're going to calculate the payment made at the end of each period by table lookup, and you're going to check table lookup by using the ordinary annuity table. So all of this stuff is just words that you're like, I have no idea what you're talking about. But I promise as you go through all of this stuff, it's going to make sense. However, if it doesn't, by all means, reach out to me. I'm happy to spend some time with you and help sort through it with you. Okay? So good luck, everybody. And if you need me, just reach out.